It's 7 o'clock on the dot. I'm in my drop top, cruising the streets. You know, you know. Come on now. You know where to find me. It's no games. So yeah. We're experiencing some, I would say, major changes, but I just want to make you guys aware because you'll probably start to see a lot of articles that states, "Oh, we're crashing. Oh, this and that. Doomsday is here." But I'm gonna provide you guys with the information so you guys know because again, not every market is going to be crashing and going through doomsday. So stay tuned, stay tuned. Let me know where you guys are tapping in from. Let me know if you're on the replay. Let me know what you guys need, what you want, what you need help with. This is the time, this is the place that I'm giving to you. I'm giving my time to you to understand a little bit more how could I best service you in getting into home ownership. If you guys don't know, real estate is my opinion. This is all my opinion, all right? And yeah, call me biased, whatever the case may be, but I've done a ton of research to try to understand what does it take to really have wealth in America. And it came down to three things, right? It came down to business, real estate, and stocks. That's the three things I've identified. And Kiwi, see how none of it includes a job, which is insane to me. So, and it could include a job, or I shouldn't have even said that because it can include a job especially if that job is giving you some sort of stocks, giving you stock equity as part of like your compensation plan or whatever the case may be. But those are the three things that I found that have extreme America. Oh my goodness. My browser lost. Get out of here. There's no way that this is happening this early into the stream, and we didn't even get started. Oh my goodness. Anyways, if you guys don't know, I do this every Wednesday, and we talk about what has occurred, or what's occurring in the real estate market for the previous week. Because of course I can't give you yesterday's information because I've done a lot of the research leading up to today. Over the past couple days, and so I can give you so much information, right? So again, we're looking at previous weeks to see what occurred in real estate to kind of give you an insight so you are aware of what's going on. So if you have a specific question, you have a specific area, market, or you have questions about whatever, this is the place to bring it so we can answer your questions because I'm sure you're not the only one with the questions. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and tap into the very first thing I want to discuss. Let me just pull up this. I don't know if you guys know, but I did talk about it on a previous stream about how they made their revision essentially. They've been making revisions, and when I say revisions, I should have been more clear here. They've been making their revisions of the forecast of the real estate market. We know that Zillow has pretty much all the information and the data in the world to be able to make their revision. So, generally speaking, when I see a revision made by someone like Zillow, I I I I look at it and I put a little weight to it. And essentially, because they have the information, they have the data, they have the people that are consistently on their platform, looking, buying, whatever the case may be, renting. I mean, they got the crown. Let's just put it like that. So whenever they make out their forecast, their revisions, I like to put a little bit more weight onto it because they have the information, the data to move and back behind it. So they did recently they did a revision on their forecast and they dropped a few markets that they expect home appreciation to continue in. And I'm going to go ahead and share that because I don't want you guys to get caught up in thinking that, yeah, just because you see articles saying, what's it called? Crash here, crash there, and thinking that that's exactly what's occurring. That's not really the case. Not everywhere, right? So if we take a look here, right, and this is coming from Zillow's revisions. So these are the markets that they're anticipating or at least expecting to have strong appreciation between March of last year, going into next year. So we have Atlantic City, New Jersey, Kingston, New York, Rochester, New York, Knoxville, Tennessee, Torrington, Connecticut, Bangor. Is that Maine? I'm assuming that's Maine. Syracuse, Vineland, Concord, New Hampshire, and Norwich. So you can see a lot of the places. I think only one of them is really in the South, right? It's Knoxville, Tennessee. Every other place is pretty much Northeast, which that has been the case since what 2024. So it's looking like they're just going to continue that trend and move forward from there. They also shared, this is still from Zillow. They also shared the 300 largest metro areas housing markets. Zillow expects the weakest home appreciation between March of 2025 going into 2026. And you're going to see it's going to be a lot of Louisiana and Texas. So a lot of the Midwest. Let's just put it like that. So if you're looking in one of these markets, make sure you strike up a deal. Just don't go in there and just, kind of take what's given. Strike it up a deal, man. Make something work for you. And this market doesn't really want to work for a lot of people, but this is your time and your opportunity. I think I'm gonna say this throughout the entire stream a lot because I want to reiterate how important this time is for a lot of buyers, especially those buyers that were on the sideline because of affordability, maybe on the sidelines because of interest rates, which I have a solution to that. You just have to let me get to it. But if you've been on the sideline because the price is a lot, here's some of your solution. It may not be your entire solution. It may not solve your problem entirely, but it's getting close, right? And so if you want to wait for it, you can wait. And when I say wait for it, you can wait for it to bottom out. But you never can time these things. So if you see a good opportunity, strike. And if you're in these areas, yeah, I don't think you're gonna want to try to strike up a deal here. You're gonna want to get what you can get, because these are markets that, of course, are experiencing. If they're experiencing increases, right, or at least Zillow anticipates home price appreciation, that means they're hot markets. And let's go ahead and take a look at this right here. So I know that that list in itself kind of just mentioned a specific areas that Zillow just already wanted to mention, but I want to provide you with this because now you can kind of see just especially if you're looking at a specific area, what area you can look at, right? So if I go ahead and zoom in, so if you see it blue, that means it's on fire. If you see it red, that means go get yourself a nice deal there. Go get yourself a nice deal. I gotta put my sound effects, man. Come on, what am I doing? Go get yourself a nice deal. Let me see. I got anything for that? Nah, I don't think so. I don't got not yet, not yet, not yet. I'll do it in the right timing. But California looks like a lot of red stuff going on there. Of course, we know Texas and Louisiana are going through the smokes right now. So Rochester, all this up here is going to be pretty much blue for the most part, right? We see a little bit of reds, but this here, you can find this. This is actually from Resi Club. So this is actually more of an interactive chart, just not the one that I have. Maybe I can do you a solid and we can go through it. So if you have a specific market, this will be a great time to drop it in the comments. Drop your questions, drop your market, drop whatever in the comments to let me know, because once we go to this, you'll be able to see. Give me 1 second. Let me zoom in. I don't think this is going to be interactive, which means I actually have to find the actual source, which is unfortunate because I'm not going to do that right now. So, yes, if you really want this is generally an interactive chart. You just have to find it. I didn't find it, unfortunately, so we're not going to be able to do that right now. But you can go ahead and do it at your own leisure, at your own time. Again, it's Resi Club. Yeah, I'll show you at the top. Just so if you want to do it, you can do it on your own time. But as you guys can see, a lot of sellers are going to start losing what I like to call leverage. So go ahead and strike up your deals. Go get whatever it is that you want to go get. If you want to get a house that's under market or below list price, this is your opportunity. If you want to go ahead and get some concessions, maybe to help with buying down your rate or helping you with closing costs. Well, just buying your rate, closing costs, and or if you want to use the concessions for repairs, right? This is when we're in that sort of market for you to be able to get that. Um, and so here, this here, although a lot of you may be watching this is like, you know what? Yeah, that all sounds good and all, but I'm still not ready yet. This chart here is pretty much showing and telling you a lot of people are not in the market. In fact, this is more or less just referring to price drop. So in the past 5 years, you could see from 2020 to I want to say this is maybe 2022. You didn't really see that many price drops in homes that were being listed. But obviously, as the market has gotten a little bit tighter, a lot of people are, like I said, sellers are losing their leverage. You're seeing this increase a little bit more because sellers aren't able to sell their home. So what happens is if a seller is not able to sell their home at the price that they're willing to sell at, then they'll drop their price, or at least whoever will drop the price. Maybe it's the agent, maybe it's the seller guiding the agent. I don't know. Whatever happens there. In this case, we're seeing as of year over year that increase 4.5%, leading up to just about 19% of, I'm assuming 19% of all homes are getting some sort of price drop. I do not think this is going to state you're going to see a 19% drop in prices. Let's see if it actually clears it up here. There were only 19.2% of homes that had a price drop, right? So it's not talking about the percentage of price dropping. It's talking about more of how many homes that are on the market that are experiencing price drops. So, and that's actually up from 14% of last year of March. So, and it actually let you know here. So 98.8% sale to list. Okay, so that's pretty strong there, which means whatever the list price is, most markets are seeing maybe a 2% um, decrease in terms of their prices. So that is that for that. Any questions? Keep letting me know because there's a lot going on here, and I want you to really understand it entirely. Because again, yes, sellers are freaking out, but not every market is going to freak out, right? And this here. Take a screenshot of this. If there's anything you should really do, you take a screenshot of this. In fact, I'll try to keep updating you on this because this right here is going to state. And let me go ahead and zoom in so you guys can see. And we'll start more or less with the bad news, right? So this is talking about inventory in every state. And so my conclusion is based off of every state that's in the blue, which we have Idaho, Hawaii, Washington, Arizona, Utah, Tennessee, Florida, Texas, Colorado. Nebraska is right there on the cusp, but not just quite there yet. All of those states maybe had a few things happen. During COVID, they were metro booming, like everybody was moving to these spots, right? However, it seems like those markets probably slow down a lot more than even maybe builders anticipated. So could be a lot of overbuilt inventory that's causing the inventory to be so elevated out there in those current places. But here, what we see is those markets in itself is where you're probably going to get most deals, opportunities, price drops, a lot of concessions, maybe even that. Like it all depends. Every market's going to be a little different. But take a screenshot of that. All right. If you're in any one of these markets, it may be time to get a little bit more serious about what's going on in real estate. If you're in any of these markets, and I would be a fool to try to name every single one because some of them are not even listed. But if it's not any of up here, right, then we can make the assumption that they're down here. So if your state was not mentioned, that means your state is still in that spot where it's still pre-pandemic levels of inventory, specifically meaning, so let's say inventory was at 1,000 in 2019. It's still below that, essentially what that is stating. And that was just me using an example. I doubt any of these markets have 1,000 of inventory, because that would be pretty outrageous and scary. That just means there's a lot of people either wanting to move there or nobody wanting to sell, no one building. But I digress. That's not the point here, and that's not the case. So any of the one of these markets are not. You'll probably still get an opportunity, a deal, whatever the case may be, but it's not one of those like this up here, where it's like, yeah, 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 I want this, that, and the third. Holla. It's not that. So you can kind of take a look at that here. I'll share this as well, just to kind of put something in perspective, because this didn't really share any numbers. It just really showed you, of course, how big the circle is. It all depends on how much actual active inventory is on the market. And active is a lot different than pending. What else we can actually say? You can consider new inventory, as in new construction, as active. But here is what it really looked like. So, and man, I wish I actually had the number. My bad, my bad. I can't actually try to pull it up. But here's the active. This is very similar to what we kind of just looked at. The previous one was more or less just breaking it down in terms of by state. But here, just over all across the board, you're going to be able to see where inventory is. And so let's see 2019, right? You could see 2019 is this nice teal line. Right. If you're taking a look at it, it's this nice tail line. So some of those markets are above this. Okay. That should clear it up right there. Some of those markets are above this. Not every single one. And this is why this is where essentially the active housing inventory is for. And of course, this is home for sale in the United States. And this is where they currently sit. And this is 2020, so you can kind of see it's just over the cusp. And essentially, this is you're probably like, why does any of this really matter? Is because the more inventory there is, generally speaking, the more options a buyer has, and generally speaking, the more that homeowners are competing with other homes to be able to sell their home. So, they may get into a pricing bid themselves as sellers, where they're trying to see who can get to the fastest to the bottom before they can actually get somebody to go ahead and make an offer and get it under contract. So this is why this is important, because if you see this number start to rise, especially in your local market, if you see it start to increase a lot more, than prices, generally speaking, will come down. It's a supply and demand at that point. It all depends on how demand is in that market too. If you have any questions specifically about your market, I would highly recommend you click the link in the description where I have, if you need an agent referral, click the link in the description. That way I can connect you to a real estate agent, and they can help you out, give you more information, right? We're talking here more on a global scale, but if you want that more in-depth local information, reports, or whatever the case may be, just let me know, and I will connect you to that real estate agent that can provide that to you. I'm only licensed in North Carolina, so I can't help you everywhere in the world. And so let's just say, I think this is very similar to what we just saw. So we may not touch on this at much, but if you really want, you can go ahead and take a screenshot of this, because I'm not going to really talk too much about it, including maybe even the next one, because this is just more or less talking about inventory once more, right? Just sharing with you what markets from 2019 to 2025, what exactly occurred in retrospect to the inventory. If you see it negative, that means they're below, or at least less than their 2019 level. If they're plus, that means they're greater than their 2019 level, or approaching it. And this one is doing very much so the same, right? But more or less just giving you percentage as a state as a whole. And so there you go. Screenshot if you would like, because it's not going to be up there long. You could do this one too. And if you're a real data guy, this is gold. This is extreme gold. I can go over this one, but we kind of already saw a lot what was going on with inventory, and we can see right now the Southwest doesn't have much. Well, no, the Southwest has the most. Sorry. So whatever's in green is active inventory levels in April of 2025 is higher than 2029. April 2025 is higher than April of 2019. I said 29. I'm like way, 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 way ahead of myself. Every other market is essentially brown, so active inventory levels in April of 2025 are lower than where they were in April of 2019, which is interesting because if we look south to east, that's Florida, and we saw on the other chart that Florida was pretty elevated. So this is not going to really help you by market, but this is going to help you if you're looking in a specific region and kind of compare and contrast so far. But I'm going to take things a little bit further. For those individuals that are in Raleigh, I got something for you. Or at least, not in Raleigh, or at least if you're looking in Raleigh or even that Fayetteville market. Because if you didn't know, I work both markets. So if you're ever looking in Raleigh or Fayetteville to purchase a home, holla at me. I got you. I got you. As I say in a lot of my videos, if you haven't figured it out yet, I got your back. For real, for real. Just give me 1 second. I have to log in here so I can go ahead and start providing you with the data that I want to provide you with. Just give me 1 second. If you have a question right now, all right, this is a good time to put it in the chat. Let me know what questions you have while I start to pull up this information so we can go ahead and tackle it. Yeah, let's do year to date. It's definitely not what I wanted. I wanted the graphs. Well, we're going to start with Raleigh first. So we'll start with Raleigh. And then if you're looking at the Fayetteville market, then we can touch on that as well. Give me 1 second to pull it all up. I like how today the stream isn't tripping on me because the stream does not like me using the browser at any point in time, which is pretty unfair because there's so much information that I just miss out on because this thing wants to act up. But I had to hit the like button up there for a pretty long time. But let's do this. Let's do this. This is as of January 2024. So do we want to do, I'm just thinking to myself now, do we want to do that far in advance or do we just want to look at this year? Let's go that far in advance. I think you guys will be all right. So let's take a first look at number of inventory. So this is just talking about Raleigh. All right. This is going to give you an idea of what's happening here in this local market. So if we look, active inventory is the highest out of new listings and pending and sold, right? I'm curious to see what 2020. So I have to do this. Oh, that's no fair. See, you're getting access to what it is that I have to work through in my MLS. So you're getting MLS access today. Don't tell anybody I share this with you. I probably still won't get in trouble. But while this loads up, and how long are you going to actually take? Okay, cool. So inventory, active listing is always going to be elevated, as you guys can see, especially going to 2023. And this is what sold. This is pending. Let's go one more. There we go. I like this. There's sold. There's pending. Okay, that's great. Cool. Let's move on to the next one. Price trends. I think the most important piece that I know everybody wants to know about. And so what we got here, let's first look at, let's take all this off first. All right. Let's first look at the sold median sale, because this is going to give you an idea of where the median is for home sales. And we're looking at 455 for the Raleigh area. If we look at what has homes sold on an average, 577. We're not going to look at sold lists because that's beyond the point. That's not actually good information. Active average list, I think, is a really good one. So we could see 745. What in the heck? I don't know about this one. That's the active average, which is insane. Let's see what active median is. Okay. See, that's why I don't like using average and median. This is just me ranting at this point because it's like, man, what number is really gonna what number is really gonna be true to your local market? I mean, I don't know, but you guys can see, right? So we have for the active average, we have 745. For the active median, it's 465. Oof, that felt great. And so essentially what that is stating is what homes are listed for. So just look at it between 465 and 745, which is crazy because there's not that many 700 homes. And we can see new average list is just in between that, right? So that's kind of what the price trends, and you can see it. I mean, we're talking straight sideways. Nothing really trending. Of course, I think the new listings, the average for the new listings, kind of went on a roller coaster ride. But for the most part, your active, let's get rid of that one. Your active median is, pretty steady here in this market. Let's go ahead and look at sale to list. So if you want to know what sellers are getting for their homes, this is your time. This is your opportunity to figure that out. Well, I'll probably figure it out for you, but so they're getting just about asking price. If we go ahead and pull up the sale to original list price ratio, right? So they're getting between asking price, of course, and about 3% off of the list price. And that 3% could be because they decrease. That could be because you made an offer that required them to decrease. And so it could be a mixture of those two. So days on market. Oh, wow, that's a lot. 40, almost 40 days. And this is the median. It's commercial. No, median collective. Days on market, 13. That screams that there's a lot of buyers in this market if this number is this low. And of course, average is going to show you 40. Let's see, median days on market, same thing. Average days on market, same thing. So in this, what I take away from it and what you can take away from it is homes are staying on the market between, let's say, 2 weeks to a month before they actually go off market. At this current moment, as you guys can see, that number was at its peak in 2023. Oh no, it actually hit the peak again in January of 2025. So not too long ago was it at its peak. But again, this is probably the spring market, but the spring market isn't the same. I'll tell you that. That's the spring market. I mean, I was just talking to a family member of mine, and she was like, "Yeah, how's business?" And I was like, it's slower than I at least slower than what I'm used to. And so again, most of my business is buyers, so this is why helping first time home buyers is right up my alley. And so I see the pain points that a lot of buyers go through, and so I try to navigate and help as much as possible. But yeah, this spring market is a little different. I don't know if it's like this in a lot of different markets. I don't think Northeast is probably experiencing this. In fact, theirs is probably moving a little bit faster. So that's that. But I'll go ahead and share my screen again because I want you guys to be able to see the month of inventory that's going on in Raleigh. And if you see this number ever at 6 months, essentially, then that means we're in like that balanced market. But right now, we're still speaking just based off of what we see here. We're still in that seller's market, which I think we're going to be here maybe for some time, unless if builders really start to build a lot, or even homeowners just say, you know what, forget this interest rate that I have. I don't really care to lock it in anymore. I just want the house. So let's go ahead and check out volume. Volume doesn't really matter because volume is just going to show us what's been occurring. Sold volume. So you guys can see sold volume is going to tell you the demand aspect of things. But let's go move and over to Fayetteville. And while I do this, let me do this. You guys can't see this stuff. This is top-notch secret stuff. Imagine. I kid you not, I'm not hiding anything. So if you actually believe me, shame on you. Or, like, what's his name said? Like, he logged in. Yeah, if you guys ever heard that, the cartoons and stuff like that, I relate. But let's go ahead and take a peek now on my screen. This is not Raleigh anymore. All right. So if you have any questions about Raleigh, we can go ahead and double back on that. But at this point in time, and if you're watching on a replay, please post your questions in the comments so that I can get to it in the next stream. And at that point in time, hopefully you watch that stream and you get your question answered. But I always like to get questions answered real time because again, we can have that back and forth, that dialogue to enable you are getting your question answered entirely, and we're on the same page. But here's what's going on in Fayetteville. So if you know anybody that's in Fort Bragg, the military base, trying to join military, this is a military town essentially. Fayetteville, that's what it is. So their market is going to be a little bit different than Raleigh because again, there's a different type of buyer here. Right? It's not going to move off of just people wanting to be in this market because it's the capital, right? Or there's a lot of jobs, or even there's a lot of entertainment. So this is a little different of a market. But here's what's going on with listings. As you guys can see, that number has been rising since 2023, which is expected. In terms of sold, all right, you can see these numbers are going to be a lot smaller because again, this is not a big market. It's not a big market in itself, but it does have one of the largest military bases. And so we can see, right? So this kind of speaks for itself. I'm not going to really talk too much about that, but let's go ahead and take a look at price trends. So let's go ahead and do this again. And so the blue line is active list price, which is 310. So if you're looking for a home that's under 300,000, you could probably find some in Raleigh. Just know you're going to put a little bit of sweat and equity into it, possibly. Not, and it's not a guarantee, or it may just be a townhome. I've been seeing a little bit more townhomes pop up in that Raleigh market under that 300,000 mark. And if sometimes even if it's under that 300,000, it also has a tenant in it as well. So if you're an investor and you're looking for a property to purchase to rent it out, whatever the case may be, you can look at that as well. But here is the active median list. So between that 291 and that just under 310, that's where you can kind of expect the list price. So that's kind of the range I would say that you're gonna have to stay within. Average sold sale, wow, 20 grand below the median list, and holy crap. Well, that's news. What about this? Sold median sale. All right. Interesting. So let's use this average, right? So that's like 30, 40. If I'm doing my math right, it's 277. So it's about 40 grand below that homes are selling here in terms of ask to sold. And then in terms of median, it's like a 40 grand difference. So same thing. Both of them are pretty much saying the same thing. Interesting. I don't know what to make of this. I'm trying to like think like what could this be resulting to? I mean, a 40 grand difference is huge. I mean, let's see here, right? This may actually say what we need. No, this doesn't. So if you're telling me people are getting 40%, or not 40%, 40 grand below a list price, but here it states, see, this is why this data stuff is all so confusing sometimes. Because here it's stating, I mean, 2% is not going to be 40 grand. I mean, we know that. No, at least you should know that. Getting 3%, like, that's not going to really scream 40 grand. But days on market, let's see how quickly some individuals are making their mind up. Right now, Fayetteville is at the highest. Whereas if we looked at Raleigh, right, Raleigh was at the highest in January of 2025 and January of 2023. So a little bit of a difference here. As I mentioned, this is a different market. So they're at their peak, which, if I'm not mistaken, PCS season is right around the corner. So this number probably will drop right here shortly. And then median days on market 29. Let's go to inventory. Wow. So inventory shot down a lot, but days on market is still up. That doesn't make sense. But anywho, that's what's going on in both the Raleigh and the Fayetteville market. If you guys have any additional questions on that, please let me know in the comments. If you're on the replay, be sure to hashtag replay and leave your comment below so I can answer it on the next stream that I do. But I want to move forward and share with you more data, right? More information. Because, of course, all of this is important, especially if you don't know where interest rates are. So interest rates pretty much steady. I didn't look at what it was today, but let's just say high sixes, practically almost in the sevens. Right. This here is going to share with you. This is as of yesterday. Yesterday being May 6th. And this sharing with you a 6.88. So that's where rates are now. Go ahead and get your buy downs. This is what I'm sharing with you, man. I'm gonna keep saying this is what I'm sharing with you. If you're concerned about interest rate, I have a solution outside of what I'm about to say now, which make sure that you can get the seller to buy down your rate. I mean, man, if you don't want to do that, then honestly, I don't know how to help you, because this here, that's a real life solution there. But let's go ahead and take a look at this data here, so you guys can see what the median price is, because I know I shared with you median price of what Raleigh's at, but let's go ahead and share with you the median price of the entire United States, so you can make that comparison. And if you want, go to Redfin and itself if they ever do take this website down. If they do, I'd be devastated, because they have some great data sometimes, and it's very interactive. I would recommend individuals use this, but especially if you don't have access to MLS or someone that you can connect to that answer, or at least give you that data. So here you're just gonna see median price. You guys can see prices didn't really do much, really kind of came down, and then it kind of shot back up. And I know a lot of individuals are waiting for the entire market to shoot down, but we shall see when that time arises. So there's that. We know what interest rates are at, which is like that six. Okay, here it says shares 6.7, which is probably more up to date than what was there yesterday. Here are some of the top growing markets, and I'll have more information on this. I actually have the next picture I'm going to show you is going to share with you some of those markets that are growing significantly. Wow. Well, if you don't see this, all right, which it's like, what? How did this Fayetteville, North Carolina make the list after the data we just looked at? And yeah, I don't know about that one. Growing sales too. I mean, Florida, I know, is going through it. Maybe not. I know if Tampa is, Orlando is. I don't know Miami Beach is. So we got Birmingham, Alabama, Baltimore, Montgomery, Detroit, Wichita, Washington, D.C., Fayetteville, North Carolina, Arlington, Virginia, Columbus, Georgia. So those are the top 10 metros in the United States with the fastest growing sales price. And this list here generally gets updated quite often. So if you're looking and you're curious, I wouldn't look, daily. I would probably look more weekly or monthly to see what has really changed. Housing supply, we've talked enough about inventory, so I'm not going to bore you with that. If that's even boring you. If it is boring you, let me know, please, so I don't ever touch upon this again and don't waste any of your time. Housing demand, this is an important piece, right? So homes sold above list. If you're in the market trying to make an offer, this is going to give you an idea. I think we looked at this a little earlier, but this is a little bit differently. I forgot what chart that was that share that. But 27% of homes sold above list price. I think it was 19% had price cuts. That's what we looked at earlier. I had to make sure. Let's just do the stare. Alrighty. And here's the top 10 most competitive. Again, this is another piece of information I think that would be extremely helpful to provide you on your home search. So Richmond, Virginia, Seattle, Washington, San Fran, Sacramento, Tacoma. And yeah, you guys can read the rest, I guess. Where are people moving from? I'm sure you don't care about that at all. I know I did mention I was going to share with you what other markets that are on fire. It's Dallas, Texas. I'll zoom in for you. So Dallas, Texas, Miami, Florida, Houston, Texas, Tampa. What? Tampa's going through some fire right now. Not in a good way. But what do I know? I am not in that market, so this is why I think it's important you speak to someone local. It's going to give you a little bit more information that some of this stuff is going to offer to you, because man, can it be not only confusing, but it can contradict yourself, as you guys are able to see. So one of the things that I know that is causing a lot of the price drops is new construction. And so with new construction kind of playing that game and just they're just building, right? And providing inventory, especially given I think what we need, I think it was like what 3 million homes that the United States needs before they can get back to a balanced market. And that essentially, this is an old article I remember that I'm trying to remember. I believe they said like what it's going to take over the next 7 years to get there. So we shall see what actually occurs there. But here is information on new homes versus existing homes, right? And you guys can kind of see the price trend in terms of what's really been going on. And you guys now can see that existing homes and new homes are pretty much really close to each other. There's not much of a gap there, which can be troublesome. Because new homes obviously should not, in my personal opinion, new homes should not be the same price as an existing home. Maybe that's how you value it, but a newer home is more up to date. So if new homes are literally approaching the same price point as existing, then I'm not going to tell you where to go to find a home, but this is kind of a telltale sign. Yep, and we can see here, this is how prices have dropped or at least risen in the new home environment in comparison to existing homes, and all throughout the year. I mean, starting as of 2023 and Q3, right? Existing homes have been getting a little bit more heat in a good way, but new construction has been getting punished a little bit more, right? And that's because that just means they're overbuilding. And so if they're overbuilding, then that means they're about to slow down big time. And that's not good news. New home prices, where are they even building new homes in the Northeast? That's That's actually interesting. I'm actually curious. If you live in the Northeast, what areas are experiencing builders that are building new inventory? I'm curious. Drop it in the comments. Let me know. Because as far as what I know, there's not much going on up there in terms of, which is probably why this number is so high. But we can see the West is probably the only place where existing home sales have now exceeded new construction, which is interesting. All right, I'm going to start speeding through things because I don't want to keep talking about this and not get to the key point of sharing with you. Of course, the grants, right? I do have some grants and some programs that you can look into, but also, how is it that you can get a good interest rate still in this market despite whatever you see on the news, on the websites, all that good stuff. I got you. But here's the number of unsold, and this is for new construction only. Okay, new construction only. You can see that number is here, and this line here. It's highest level of completed unsold homes since July of 2009. That's what that line is for. Okay. All right. So a lot of new construction inventory, which means go get yourself a deal. This is for finished homes, though. Right. So the previous one was unfinished, which means probably just I would say maybe just the framing, right? Whereas this is finished homes, and we can see they suppressed the heck out of this, right? That's why I'm saying, builders they're not gonna move fast, unfortunately, and this may cause the market to literally continuously, in my opinion, creep up, just because if the inventory isn't there isn't anything to bring more inventory. What's gonna really drive the market in the opposite direction? If you have the answers, please let me know because I am extremely curious. Because that is the last thing that I had to share with you in regards to real estate data, because I don't want you to think that sellers are freaking out entirely. They're freaking out for several different reasons. And if they are freaking out, just know they may be a really motivated buyer. So it's time to go get you a deal. It's time to go get you a deal. It's time to go get you a deal. It's time to go get you, or maybe let's do this. Oh, oh, yeah. Go get that. Go get that. Go get that. You know what I mean? Alrighty. I'm going to share with you. If you're looking in North Carolina, this is going to be really advantageous to you because there are first-time home buyer programs that you can tap into. If you don't know, there's is here the North Carolina Home Advantage Mortgage, and then they have where's the other one? There you go, the North Carolina First Home Advantage Down Payment Program. So the only thing I would say, you guys can really, let me go ahead and zoom in. You guys can really read what the eligibility is in terms of requirement, or screenshot it, do whatever it is that you have to do. But one thing I do know that they do offer, I think it's it says it here, up to 3% of a down payment assistance, which I think maxes out to about 15,000. Doesn't state it here. Okay, I know the down payment one is 15,000. So this one here, I don't know what their max is specifically, but understand these programs, understand everything that goes in it, because there are, in my personal opinion, stipulations that go with everything. If you're ever getting money, just know, read the fine print. There is terms and conditions that you must know about. So, like for instance, the one that I know with at least this one, the North Carolina First Home Advantage Down Payment Program, it's fully forgiven after 15 years. But if you were to make a change and make a move prior to that, what happens is you're gonna have to pay that money back, and it's just gonna come out of closing. So whatever if hopefully you made some money on that sale, it's just gonna reduce that and make it a little bit less than probably what you were anticipated. And that's only if you sold it prior to the 15 years. Here's another, eligibility that you guys can tap into. This one here It's new to me, so we can go ahead and look at it together. The Community Partners Loan Pool Program. So this is for, okay, so this is the income limit. Whereas I don't think the down payment assistance for North Carolina really has an income limit, but I'm sure, of course, I don't quote me on that actually. I don't remember if there is I know, okay, so there is for both programs. This is more or less talking about, okay, so there is a limit for both, but this limit is going to be more geared towards if it's 80% or less of their county's median income. And all that information you can find, right? If you just go and look to see what the median income is for the county, you could be able to find that information. But here they're giving you a nice whopping 50,000 in down payment assistance, right? Up to. They're not gonna just give it to you just because. And so this, I don't know if they have that same stipulation in terms of if it's sold, if you fully forgiven after 15 years, because it doesn't state it here. But the loan must be repaid after 30 years tells me, yeah, they won't even allow you to sell it. Here's a Raleigh specific one, right? But this one is going to be based off of income as well. I should have been zoomed in. My bad. My bad if you didn't really see any of that. So here's that home buyer program, home assistance program, right? So these things exist. You just have to qualify for it. And then there's a Durham one as well that we can go ahead and get to next. Right. So this one is fully forgiven after 15 years. Here, I will actually throw it in the chat for you. So depending on when you're watching this, you'll see it jump in the chat and you'll see it pop up. Take a look at it at your own leisure, at your own time. They even have Charlotte. This is really intensive because it's going through all of North Carolina programs, which is phenomenal, right? Maybe not in every single area, but at least the major areas that they're going through. Take a look at that. Go through it. If you have questions, just reach out to me specifically. If you have any questions on these programs, I can't really help outside of North Carolina. If you have any questions specifically on these, let me know. That way, if you have a question or you want to know something specific, I can reach out to my preferred lender and pick their brain and understand a little bit more about what's going on. Of course, depending on your question as well. So I provide you with some down payments. I provide you with some money that's already out there. Go get it, because now we're going to talk about what I like to call assumable loans. I actually had a conversation. A buddy of mine, he sent me a text and was like, "Hey, what's this?" And I was like, "Oh, those are just assumable loans." And he was like, "Why don't I know about this?" Like he was coming at me, and I was just like, "Bro, chill. You didn't ask enough questions. That's why you don't know about it." But I wanted to provide this with you because he had the question. He was unaware, so I was like, "Hey, you know what? Let me share it with you guys as well." This is really for those individuals who are still freaking out about interest rates being so high. So if you're freaking out about interest rates being so high, pay attention real closely, because assumable loans can help you and mitigate the high cost of, I guess, interest rates, if that's your concern, though, right? The only thing I would say is you gotta have cash. You gotta, especially if the person bought properly. I'm talking about the homeowner. If they bought properly and now you're in a position where they're in a position where they want to sell, then yeah, you're gonna want to make sure that you're not shooting yourself in the foot by not being cash ready. Oof, it's much better to my eyes. So, what is a assumable loan? Essentially, when you're taking over someone's loan, of course, that person that is selling has to want to give it to you, right? And if I'm not mistaken, it has to be an FHA, it has to be a VA loan. Those are the only two loans that can be assumed. But the advantageous point to it is you get an interest rate that is going to be lower than market, right? So I know a lot of, if you go to I know the next website is going to be able to show you a little bit of an examples of the type of interest rate that you can get. But also essentially a lower interest rate is going to mean lower payment, right? Since you're not taking on a new loan, right? It's not going to be nearly as many closing costs, right? But you'll have to make up that difference, the difference in what that loan is at and the what they're trying to sell it for, or whatever you're trying to buy it for. You'll have to make up that difference. Again, if you have questions on that, let me know. And then assumable loans, because you're taking it from somebody that previously purchased a home already and probably were paying it off for a couple of years. It's not going to be a 30 years, right, on it in itself. But I think personally, assumable loans are phenomenal if you are positioned and ready to take advantage of this, because this is one of those things where you'll get an interest rate that's better than what the market is giving you. And so if I go ahead and go on to the next, so assume list, sorry, is where you can go ahead and go on this website. It's a paid service, unfortunately. I think they do have a free version if you really want to take advantage of this, but probably won't be as in detail as, of course, if you were to pay for it. This is not a sponsorship or anything. This is me just giving you information and allowing you to know what's out there already. So here are some examples, right? Let's go ahead and look at Atlanta, Georgia, just to be nosy. Let's see what type of cheese. This is ridiculous. Let's go FHA. Let's go 3 beds, 2 baths. So let's see what kind of interest rates can you find in markets like that right now, right? And so, oh wow, they show you the down payment, which is pretty significant. Let's go single family only, because I don't want no neighbors like that. I don't like close neighbors. You gotta stay far away from me. Let's go into the Mecca. Let's go into the heart of the city. Yeah, right next to Morehouse. All right, so what we got here? So they're offering, and this is estimated. Oh, that sucks. Well, so let's just say 3%, just because I don't know exactly what that number is going to be. So you can get a 3% on this home. That's a 4 bed, 3 bath, about 3,000 square feet, going for 600. Right. So these things exist. I mean, they're all over the market. That's interesting. They're all over the market. All right. Let's go ahead and see what a different market looks like. Let's go Houston, Texas. Let's go same criteria, FHA. We're gonna go 3 beds, 2 baths. So if you ever tell me, Ronnie, I can't buy a home because of interest rate, that means you didn't watch this stream, or the person you're working with is uninformed about assumable loans. So this is your opportunity to inform the person, like, hey, what about assumable loans? Like, this is pretty outrageous as well. What about assumable loans? Can I take advantage of that? Right. So you're gonna see, right? 2.8, 2.9, 2.5. These are COVID rates. Right. 5%. Again, this is all estimated, right? So don't quote me on this, please. Right. Threes. These are the interest rate that I know a lot of people want, been dying for, are waiting for, in fact. But I digress. I shared with you the information that I needed to share with you. Seems like no one really has any questions. Seems like we got a quiet crowd today, or everybody's out, recovering from Cinco de Mayo. I hope you guys all, you all stay safe during that holiday as well. You didn't get too, ahead of yourself, let's just say. But shout outs to everybody on that front. Hope it was a great one. Hope you guys are all recovered and back to, the daily routines. But if you guys have any other questions, please let me know. You know where to find me. If you guys actually, let me do this for you. If you, like I said, if you really want to reach out to me and you need help in whatever specific market that you're working in or looking to purchase in, go to this website. You'll find it in the description below. Just click the link where you see agent referral. Once you get here, you can do two things. You can go contact, you can press contact, or you can just say let's chat. fill out this entire form. That way I do get notified that you want to speak, right? You want another conversation. And so once you complete this, that way I will reach out to you within 24 to 48 hours, and we'll have a conversation about what it is that exactly you're looking for, what it is that you need help with, what exactly you need to do to get into a home. And so once we have that information, I'll know exactly who to partner you up with. If it's in my market, just let me know. North Carolina, throw your hands up, take a shot. What? Just sit in the air like a helicopter. But yeah, just fill out this entire form, and once you're done, press send, and that way I do get notified, and I can assist you a little bit more, right? We can provide you with that information. We can provide you with the agent that's going to help you on the ground getting that home that you need, right? Because I think home ownership it's a beautiful place, especially when you're thinking about wealth, thinking about America, right? If you look at, and in fact, if you want, go do this homework. Go look at the difference between renters versus homeowners over the past 40 years. There's a chart out there somewhere. Just Google something of like, you know, I don't know what's the right wording for that I could think of right now. What is the income, maybe the income gap or the wealth gap? I don't know. Something of that nature from renters to homeowners. And when you see that, you may be wowed depending on exactly what your expectations are. But at least when I saw it, I was wow. I said, this is quite unacceptable, but this is what I advocate for. Is helping all my renters, helping all my first time home buyers get into homes because it's part of wealth. I don't know about, but on me. But now I'm back. Just as I was getting ready to dip, it froze on me, so I gotta do it. I gotta do it. But we out of here. On a serious note, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all week. Hope y'all stay safe. If you guys have any questions, you know where to find me. Reach out to me. Let me know. Leave me the comments in this stream. I'll get back to them on the next stream, and that way, hopefully you show up and maybe we can have that dialogue back and forth. But